Yo, what's up, guys? We do have the Lord of the Rings collaboration notice modified. They already messed something up. Nice. I just woke up and did not get that much sleep. Probably will go to sleep after this video a little bit more again because I live in degenerate hours. Besides the point, really doesn't matter. We do have the developer notice, so we're going to check out the dev video all the way at the end. So this is going to be the developer notes for the Lord of the Rings X Summoners War. Art style looks pretty dope. It will be on January 29th PST, so that's going to be the Pacific time. So it most likely will be on the 30th in Asia time, from what I've seen on a few notes thus far and that kind of stuff. Talking a little bit about Lord of the Rings, lore and those kind of things and where it came from. The characters that we do have are Frodo, Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gollum, as mentioned. A whole bunch of people have mentioned thus far, it's like, okay, you have a lot of cool monsters such as Nazguls and a bunch of other things in Lord of the Rings. Why did you not take those for also having those monsters as summonable monsters rather than as enemies? But yeah, that's just one of those things that most of the time just take the most common one. However, the only one that's slightly uncommon is the Golem. Like, I think a lot of people would have rather seen a Gimli, but maybe because people would like to see a little bit less humanoid style of characters, they went for the Gollum rather than the Gimli. I don't know about that, but there's a few options like that. So this is going to be the pile of what is 4-star and 5-star. Frodo is going to be the free 5-star. In most cases, the free unit from events. We're looking at like an Altiers, like the Sakuna and all of those kind of things. And Guillaume, those are mostly the most useless units out there of just have like one niche usage. Fire Ken was probably the best from all of those thus far. So I have seen some of the skills just yet. This one might actually be the best one out of all of them thus far. So that's an interesting one right there. Gandalf, as we kind of expected, is a full 5-star family. Gollum, on the other hand, is a full 4-star family. And between Aragorn and Legolas, we have a 4 and a 5 in LDs. And then a crossover in that. And we have 2 5s, 2 5s, and 1 4 on each of these for the Legolas and Aragorn. So sneak peek about the skills. That's the most part that I am interested in. So first of all, Frodo. We have the attack the enemies to decrease death for 2 turns with a 50 check. Too bad 50 check mostly goes towards like another 25 on top of that. So that's going to be a 75 check. Sure. Attacks all enemies decrease their attack bar by 40 to 80 with an 80 or by 40 with an 80 chance. Haha, it's early for me. And then increase their chance of landing glancing by 50. Not that crazy, but at least it is a no-hit kind of thing. But then Will of the Shire, which might be very interesting. It is a passive. It is automatic activated. It does not mean, therefore, that it does not have a cooldown. But let's look at it first. Removes all harmful effects on yourself at the start of your turn. If no harmful effects are removed, increase the attack power of all allies for 2 turns. If this thing does not have a cooldown, it is going to be meta in giants, dragons, pretty much every dungeon PvE located out there. If that is not the case, then I would say that this is probably just going to be meta in R5. And it's going to be meta in probably the Temple of Chaos, if it does have a cooldown. Well, no, even then. Because what does this mean? Well, this is a guaranteed attack buff if you don't have anything to cleanse, which is an attack buff for your allies, which is really good. You're going to be wasting your own turn, like it's S1 or S2 doesn't really add too much. I would rather like go for an S1 than an S2 in a lot of cases, but hear me out on this one. If this works every turn, you can go into your giants, you can make Frodo attack buff your Julie clear the waves. But then on your second wave, if you do that with, let's say, a Seek or anything, you miss the attack buff and Seek has a useless turn. Well, in this case, Frodo will have a semi-useless turn, but it will still give you attack buff to your Luna, to your Prilia, to your Homunculus, to your Julie, to clear the mid-boss pretty effectively as well. So this might be the replacement of the Konamiya very consistently. You could even go for a Tesha attack buff. If your Tesha can one-shot the waves, which I think on a Tesha attack buff is a potential to do, that you can clear the golems with that, then this could be a very strong replacement for that, especially in giants. For dragons, I could also see a mechanic where you can maybe one-shot the waves or like, well, 2-turn the waves because this is still a 2-turn. In dragons, it might be not as interesting because we have the Agrius in there. But especially for giants, I can see this thing having a lot of potential. Then outside of giants, R5, I'm doing the R5. If I do R5 over here, the normal R5 that I tend to do for, especially if we're looking at a specific elemental R5. I'm using the Seek over here, but it is not a guaranteed attack buff, so therefore I cannot also not rely on the crit. Frodo will be 100% replacement for the Seek in this team. Like, no matter what, you just put it like, well, I don't even have to put it on Will because of Freya will just cleanse it, and therefore Frodo will always go for an attack buff, which makes the Katarina team a lot stronger. So I am definitely already hyped by the free-to-play unit. Because if this has a cooldown, and some people's like passives never have cooldowns, say, not entirely true. There are a few passive units out there that do tend to have cooldowns. It's just a little bit more rare/weird, but this one is actually a passive which is an automatic effect, but it still has a reusable 2 turns. Then it also would mean like, how often can you use this? Because if it's just a 1-turn cooldown, then it would also mean that every other turn you still keep it up. If he takes his turns, he would still keep it up in the next wave as well. So I see a lot of potential for this. Best case scenario, it's going to be a best in slot for a lot of PvE things. Worst case scenario, it is a best in slot for just an R5 kind of team. But either cases, he will be used. And I'm already pretty happy about that. So that's already that. Gandalf was a tech type before, but now it's support type. Makes a lot of sense because he does actually have things based on your max HP and max HP scaling. So he's going to be probably a support type and HP type family. So first we have the Staff of Istari. I'm probably mispronouncing half of these names, but doesn't really matter. Attack the enemy, create a shield towards 10% of your max HP on the worst ally for 2 turns. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's for skill 1, it's not that bad. It's also not that interesting. The Flame of Anor attacks the enemy 2 times each hit. Decrease their attack speed for 2 turns with a 50 check. And then increase the chance of landing cleansing hit for 2 turns with 2. Okay. So that is each hit doing that. So that is most likely a land of both of them. So that's totally fine. You cannot pass. I did already read in the Reddit some people making the comments like, oh, on the video or like on the movie, it is you shall not pass, right? Apparently in the books, it is you cannot pass. Not going to be claiming that I read the books because I don't read anything. You could probably notice on the screen at some point. Either way. Remove all harmful effects on allies and attack the enemy 3 times. Dealing damage proportional to your max HP each hit, removing beneficial effects with a 40 check. So it is going to be a strip kind of style of unit, which makes it where... I'm not sure if that's going to be too interesting. A 3 times hit of a 40 check probably goes up to like a 50 or a 60 most of the time. 3 times a 60 check is pretty decent numbers to get a consistent strip in, so that's not too bad. However, it also really depends like how much damage is this actually gonna do. Is the S2 actually that useful? Is this that useful? And the big question is, it is a full 5-star family, so it is the potential for the higher leads, because if you have a 4-star in the family, they tend to do like the weird things like the 28 leads, the blah blah blah, those kind of things. Or like the 21 leads even, in the case of like a Nina or a Kiara or something like that. But a full 5-star, then you get the actual full lead. So that could be a, if it's a global lead, 24 speed lead. If that is an arena lead, we're looking at a 33 speed lead potential. So that is definitely one of those things. I don't think we will get a strip with a 33% speed lead. Also, if we're looking at the families that don't have a 33% speed lead just yet, because there are a few families that if we go to speed for arena, then we have 33 seated over there, 33 seated over there, 33 seated over there. So those are all covered. But the 28 lead is actually not covered just yet in wind, because we have 28 lead, 28 lead, no 28 lead, no 28 lead, and we do have a 28 lead over here. So light and wind are still bound to get 28 leads. I do expect the one from wind to this guy getting the 28 lead. That's just what my expectation is. But it also could be that the Gandalf would get the 28 lead, or Legolas. No, wait, Gandalf is not possible. That would be a 33 lead. So either one of those two could get like the wind version on a 28 speed lead. That is still an option out there. Or even the light. Legolas light could also be a speed lead, for example. So those options are there. I'm not entirely sure what is that the case for if we check out the leads for guild content. Guild content leads, what do we have? So we don't have any 33 leads outside of light and dark just yet. 28 leads, none of these are 28 leads. Those are also, okay, we do have 28 lead, of course, on this one over here. And this one also does not have a 28 lead, right? So in that kind of Shape and Way, Wind and Fire could be 28 leaded still. Those options are there. Light already has, Dark already has. So those are a few options for the 4 stars, maybe. I don't know. Those are seated over there and over there. So that's... Oh, no, wait. These are the lights. Then would he this and then this one? I'm not too sure if they want to go normal element 28 leads on guild content. Either way, let's move on. So yeah, that's for the Gandalf. Then we have Aragorn. Aragorn is an HP type. I expect him to be full HP type, and I'm very happy that's already max HP scaling, because we have seen that before with a whole bunch of the collab units. We have seen that with also outside of collab units. Lamila S1 or the whole like family of the Spectre Princess was just kind of mid because it was not HP scaling on a full HP scaling kind of unit, and therefore it was just pretty ass straight up at the start. We had the same issues with the Bayek not being HP scaling at the start. We had the same issues with the Dels or the Bisons, and also therefore the Slayers, that they did not have HP scaling on the skill 1 when they were a full HP scaling kind of unit, and therefore they were needing in a balanced patch to be actually good at the start. Well, in this case, we have that right away where we have a HP scaling, plus we actually have a brand, which is definitely not bad for skill 1. It is a 50 check, probably goes up to like 75-ish, but it's already max HP scaling, which I'm pretty happy about. This is also going to be the Dark 5, so this one is definitely going to be rare. Then we have the Band of Blades. Increase the attack power of the ally with the highest attack for 1 turn and team up with that ally for the attack. While attacking, you deal damage. Your attack deals twice this damage, and then Death Break, and then that Death Break is a 50 check, will probably go up. It's interesting to see how the animation is. If his animation is super fast, then he can land the Death Break before your other thing that you're hitting with does attack as well. But since you're focusing on the unit with the highest attack, you can actually make pretty good team-ups with us. So I think that this S2 is pretty strong. Also, that S2 will most likely be on at least 1 to 2 other units of this family as well. If it ends up on like the Wind 4, then it's probably like 4 other units. Like that's the most thing with like the 4 stars in there for normal elementals. Most of the time it's just like the 4 other units to make the others easier skill up. The light and darks could be good, but this is just like skill up for the rest. This is skill ups for the rest in most cases out there. So let's move on from there. Then we also have Oathbreakers. That is summoning like the ghost army that we have seen on the video preview as well. Attack the enemy to reset the attack bar. Okay, afterwards attack the enemies 3 times to increase their cooldown by 1 turn. Okay, wait. 3 times increase by 1 turn, decrease their speed, and then for 3 hits. Okay. So I thought for a second that you have all 3 hits potential to land increased cooltime, and therefore you can increase cooltime by 3. But I think it is 1 hit to increase cooltime, and then 2 more hits for decreasing their speed. But you also have the reset of attack bar. So sounds pretty strong. I think I'm more hyped for his S2 than the S3, in all honesty. But the S3 has some good potential as well with pushbacks and attack speed increase and those kind of things. Then with the Legolas, Legolas does have a chance of getting more S1s in. Attacks the target 1 more time with a 50% chance up to 3 times. I am curious to see if that is going to be 3 times a 50 check, or is that going to be a check that's going to be lower in number. Because 3 times 50, that's pretty nasty. It does also mean most likely that whatever has a passive has a lot more stronger value on this S1. But in this case, we have the 5-star on Legolas on Wind. S2 is going to be increase your attack power and your speed and gain an instant additional turn. So that does mean potential for a very strong kit as well. Depending if the S3 has a passive, because then your full skill is the S1 and therefore you will always do good damage on an S1, for example. But in this case, we don't have a passive on the 3. In this case, we have the faster your attack speed, the greater the damage becomes, which is really nice. I do also assume that he will have a perfect AI on the S2 into the S3. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that would make a lot of sense. Then we have attack the enemies 2 times to stun them for each hit. Decrease the attack bar by 30% if the attack speed is lower than yours. So that's definitely a pretty solid hit. Once again, it's going to matter like what are the base speeds on this one as well. Like if it's a 106 or 105 base speed, it's definitely a lot better. Also, big question is he going to be having a good lead, or does he have like the weird ass like, oh, accuracy lead for all of the wind units? Like no one cares about that. Then we have the Gollum, which is a full 4-star family, which is also a little bit of a weird Gollum with having hair, I guess. That's halfway in his transformation from Smeagol to Gollum, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. Well, we have a Stone Chop, which is going to be a stun for a 30% chance. Then we have a Nasty Strike, which is a if the target is stunned after the attack again, and then when the attack absorbs or attacks again, and then absorb the attack bar. Okay. If the attack bar is not stunned, so it's kind of getting roid feelings. Like, okay, if this happens, then we do the one passive part. If this doesn't happen, then we do the other passive part. Attacks the target if it's not stunned, but the enemy team attack again to remove one beneficial effect. Okay, that kind of does make sense. So if you did not stun, there's probably an immunity to be stripped, and then you're going to be removing that immunity style. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. So then we have a whole bunch of explaining of like battle animations, swift animations, sure. I'm not gonna go through this thing like all super in depth because I also still want to make this video, and I already went pretty in depth with all of those units just at the top. So I'm just kind of scanning through what I do think is going to be interesting. So we're of course gonna have our Mordor in this case. They did add in the gates, they did add in the Mordor volcano, and then also the Tower of the Eye of Sauron, I guess it was called like that. Collab missions, yep, the typical stuff. We're gonna be walking our way to Mordor. Yep, that's kind of expected that. And then we also have our way into the volcano. Also kind of makes sense. This is what I expect just to be the similar thing as what we have with Assassin's Creed, where you just had like the dungeon and you choose like different routes. In this case, you don't really choose different routes, but you just fight like a bunch of bosses and that kind of stuff. And then you have the normal hard and hell. And to be honest, even on like a beginner account, clearing the hell was always like crazy easy. We do have relic peace jobs with probably like, yeah, you get some extra damage things as we also had with like the different choices that you have and that kind of stuff. And everyone's just going to choose like full on crit damage, speed and attack, and you don't care about the rest. And you will one-shot everything else. Like these things are always, they put a lot of effort into making these and that kind of stuff. And they make a lot of effort into making these bosses and kind of stuff. But in honesty, most of the time you just like clear it in one hit regardless. Also, a lot of people were asking, is like, why did we not get these as actual like monsters to be playing with? Would have been very cool. Would have been very cool. I'm especially curious about like the Witch King Angmar over here. That one was pretty dope. This thing did not really do that much. This thing, I honestly don't even remember where this thing showed up. This thing was just talking outside of the gate and then he just got chopped pretty much. But yeah, I'm kind of expecting all of these things to more or less get like one tapped, and that's about it. We do also see a glimpse of the Gandalf over here. Looks a little bit small next to the other units, but it's looking fine. And then we see a bunch of skills. They really don't really matter too much. Like everyone's gonna clear this at hell every week anyways. Then we also have a minigame, which is Gandalf's Riddle. Okay, so minigame puzzle. So we have seen some minigames that were really bad for like Tekken 8. Gwent is the one that people did like a lot, but let's see what this one is. Minigame was inspired by countless casual puzzle game Slide It. Never heard of it. With design stages for first-time players. Okay, 100 stages. We're excited to see you will be able to clear them. Sure. And then we have some the Shire minigames. Yep. Okay, your progression. Sure thing. You have to draw lines and shapes for specific requirements. Each stage between clear 3 stars. Okay. So it's more of like a puzzle kind of game rather than anything, if I understand this correctly. Okay, and then at some point, if it just doesn't work out, you can press on the hints. That's okay, that's okay. Kind of reminds me of like these mini games that you have in Wuthering Waves and those kind of things, where you just have to like click things and unlock things and then have to do that in right patterns and those kind of things. So in this case, you just have to divide the thing in half or so, it seems. I don't really want to read it too much because it doesn't really seem that crazy interesting, but I think it is better than the mini games that we had for Tekken 8. Like, especially if you don't really follow what to do, it's not going to be that hard. You just smash like the hint button and they will give you hints and then you just clear it that way. So definitely not an annoying mini game, and that's already a plus. It's not really a positive like, oh, that's really fun. Maybe it might be fun when you're actually playing it, because in the end I did not read it that clearly, but yeah, it's at least not an annoying minigame, and that's what we had for the Tekken 8, and I think also the Demon Slayer. Some people kind of liked it, some people didn't like it at all. It is not that bad. Then, of course, we also have the Triumph Ascension. We'll have the units in, the rifle thing, special emojis, sure thing, how we can collab or get the units, about every scroll in there known to mankind. Then we have additional information. Wait, does it also include the 11-year Transcendence Scrolls? Yeah, so you can pick those up from like the 11-year Transcendence Scrolls if you still have those. Then that's about it. So I think for unit-wise, it's looking pretty good. Definitely, we still have to know for what they do for speed leads, multipliers, blah, 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 those kind of things, which could definitely be ass, and therefore the unit is kind of ass. But at first look, especially because the Frodo free-to-play unit is already something that I say is like, hey, that has potential. I see some potential in the whole collab. So let's actually look at this video. Okay, let me put it in a way that the subtitles are also readable for you guys.
걸작 소설인 반지의 제왕이 드디어 만났습니다. 이번 콜라보에서는 원작의 상징적인 캐릭터들과 장대한 세계관의 모습들을 서머너즈워만의 감성으로 재해석하여 선보이게 되었습니다.
모험의 무대는 사우론이 지배하는 어둠의 땅 모르도르입니다. 플레이어는 지도를 따라 모험을 하는 것과 같이 이벤트 던전을 탐험하게 됩니다.
Yeah, that's pretty much similar as we had in all of the other collabs as well, which is just the typical thing of like you walking through a map and then going all the way through, and then you just clear those bosses like all in one hit. That's just the main thing we have been doing.
모르도르의 입구인 블랙 게이트를 시작으로 절대 반지가 만들어진 마운틴 둠, 그리고 사우론의 거성인 바랏도르를 차례로 공략하며 반지의 제왕 속 영웅들을 만나보실 수 있습니다.
반지의 제왕에는 다양한 매력적인 종족과 캐릭터들이 등장하지만 이번 콜라보에서는 그 중에서도 스토리 비중이 높고 대중적으로 좀 더 익숙한 캐릭터들이 선정되었습니다.
Yeah, that's mostly the reason why they don't really go for monsters, is that they really like to go for what is the most common / well-known thing from the collab. So in this case, therefore going for a Nazgul or something as a monster is a little bit less common, and therefore they don't really like to go for these.
반지 원정대의 핵심 멤버인 아라곤, 간달프, 레골라스, 프로도는 만장일치로 결정되었습니다. 선정 과정에서의 비하인드를 살짝 말씀해 드리자면 마지막 한 명을 놓고 내부에서도 다양한 의견이 있었습니다. 꼭 원정대 캐릭터들로만 구성하는 것보다 개성 있는 캐릭터가 있었으면 좋겠다는 의견에 힘입어 골룸이 최종 선정되었습니다.
이번 배포 캐릭터는 원작의
So I guess they made like a direct decision to not go for Gimli because Gimli is the one that's missing from the Fellowship of the Ring. I guess that they have something more interesting for a Gollum that they could have done with a Gimli then, I guess. But let's see, because the 4-star Gollum on Light did not really look that interesting. It kind of looked like the whole Delseem family where the poison masters were, you're not really using them that much outside of like one random element.
주인공인 프로도입니다. 특히 프로도는 이번 프로젝트의 기준점이 된 중요한 캐릭터인데요. 프로도를 첫 출발로 다른 모든 콜라보 캐릭터들의 키, 비율, 분위기의 기준을 수립했고 덕분에 다른 캐릭터들이 프로젝트 전체의 통일성과 높은 퀄리티를 확보할 수 있었습니다. 먼저 프로도는 호빗이라는 종족으로 평화를 사랑하는 작고 통통하면서도 투박한 매력을 가진 캐릭터입니다. 특유의 낙천적인 분위기와 프로도만의 호기심과 용맹함을 눈빛에서 표현하고자 했습니다. 아라곤은 순찰자 시절의 실용적인 가죽 옷차림.
Aragorn still kind of looks like a Steel Commander though, which is the collab or like the Summoners War original version of the Ezio, but he looks cool.
을 착용하고 있지만 후드의 그림자가 얼굴을 가리지 않게 하여 왕의 혈통다운 위엄과 섬세함을 살렸습니다. 반면 가만히 서 있을 때도 강인함이 느껴지도록 무게중심과 미세한 자세에 공을 들였습니다. 간달프는 얼굴에 그림자를 그려 신비롭고 예측 불가능한 성격을 가지려 했고 특정 각도에서 눈빛이 드러날 때 신적인 존재의 인상을 주도록 만들었습니다. 레골라스의 경우는 아라곤과 비슷한 체형이지만 훨씬 날렵한 슬렌더 스타일을 표현해야 하는 난관이 있었습니다. 이는 착시 효과를 활용해 해결했는데요. 의상과 갑옷의 수직 라인을 강조하고 어깨는 둥글게, 허리는 가늘게 조형하여 날렵한 실루엣을 완성했습니다. 특히 골룸을 작업하는 과정은 가장 흥미로운 작업이었습니다. 소설을 읽으며 유저분들이 흔히 생각하실 수 있는 골룸의 이미지가 아니라 이를 서머너즈 워 스타일에 맞춰 미워할 수 없는 묘한 귀여움과 친근함을 더하는 방향으로 재해석했습니다.
That's why I gave him hair.
네 발로 걷는 독특한 움직임 덕분에 모션 작업을
That looks kind of
진행할 수
accurate though.
있었는데요. 그 외에 전반적인 텍스처 채색에는 Wet on Dry라는 수채화 기법을 차용했습니다. 의도적으로 남긴 붓자국과 겹침 효과를 통해 원화의 느낌을 살리고 수작업 특유의 밀도감과 깊이를 더했습니다.
각 캐릭터의 스킬도 게임 원작이 아니다 보니 구체적인 설정을 가지고 있지는 않았지만
Okay. We see some animations. I'm always curious about the skills. So, if we go from here, this is the dark one, of course.
각 캐릭터의
This is the water one, it seems, from Element. And he seems to be doing a self-buff, because it's not really... Yeah, it looks like a self-defense buff or something like that. Interesting. Maybe it was the only unit in the party and therefore it's only a self-buff, which should have been an AoE buff. I don't think so. This is the dark one, which seems to be just doing similar skills as Light.
소설 속 원정대의 역할과 전투에서 보인 모습들을 참고하여 스킬을 구성해 보았습니다. 예를 들어 아라곤은 강력한 전사이기도 하면서 원정대의 리더답게 강력한 공격과
Okay, that is some allied buff once again.
특히 펠레노르 평원 전투에서 죽은 자들의 군대를 소환해서 싸우는 명장면을 스킬에 녹여 원작의 감성을 그대로 전달하고자 했습니다.
That is the pushback skill.
원작에서 간달프는 지혜와 마법으로 어둠에 맞서는 인물입니다. 따라서 화려한
kind of AoE stun.
빛을 활용한 마법을 중심으로 원작이 지닌 그의 위험 있는 모습을 담아내고자 했습니다. 레골라스는 멀리서 화살로 지원하는 데 그치지 않고 다양한 전투 액션을 통해 캐릭터의 개성을 잘 드러내는 스킬들을 선보입니다.
Okay, I really like that skill. I really do like that skill. I think he was
무기나 마법을 쓰지
a
않아서
4-star?
스킬 구현에 고민이 많았지만 돌을 이용한 공격이나 생선을 먹어 체력을 회복하는 모습 그리고
He has the fish.
강렬한 표정으로 돌진하는 장면 등이 그의 캐릭터성을 잘 보여줄 수 있을 것 같습니다.
I was wondering if they go for the dark shit where he just like bites off someone's finger, like finger biting skill. Wait, I want to see, was Legolas on the water? Is that a 4-star? No. Yes, it was. So the one with the cool animation that we just saw with like the bow into like the stab with the dagger, that is actually a 4-star, which hopefully one of the others also does have that skill because that skill looked pretty badass. And then I'm referring to this skill, like the walk in into like the dagger slash kind of thing. That's a 4-star.
이번 콜라보 던전의 배경은 도입부에서 짧게 보여드렸는데요.
The gate.
반지의 제왕 속 사우론의 주된 거점이며 어둠의 땅이라는 의미를 가진 모르도르의 세 지역을 탐험하면서 각각의 보스들을 상대하게 됩니다. 자연스러운 공간감을 느낄 수 있도록 가까운 부분은 재질감과 디테일을 살리고
This looked pretty dope.
핵심 형태와
But yeah, it looks pretty dope in the movie, so you can't really mess that part up, right?
특히 원경의 중요한 포인트인 화산과 탑 등은 의도적으로 선명하게 처리해서 시선이 자연스럽게 흐르도록 구성하였습니다.
가장 먼저 도달하게 되는 검은 문에서
We want to summon these. That's what we want to summon, right? Let me know in the comments if you want to summon these kind of characters. That looks so badass.
사우론의 입을 상대하게 됩니다. 원작에서 거짓말로 원정대를 속이고
I don't think did he have a horse? I don't think he had a horse in the when he came out of the gate, but damn, that's a horse I would like to summon. Holy shit.
간사한 말로 협박하는 모습을 보여주는데요. 이번 콜라보 던전에서도 거짓된 언어로 적들을 혼란시키는 컨셉을 고려하여 스킬을 디자인했습니다.
연출적인 면에서도 사우론의 입을 사우론의 사절다운 분위기로 표현하고자 노력했는데요. 팔을 벌려 어둠을 모았다가 터뜨리는 식으로
Loki, this thing looks straight out of Jujutsu Kaisen, but that could be me.
말을 통해 저주를 퍼붓는 느낌으로 모션과 이펙트를 표현했습니다.
그 다음에는 운명의 산에서 우글록을 만나게 됩니다. 강인하고 무자비한 지도자라는 컨셉에 초점을 두고 스킬을 생각하게 되었는데요. 외형적으로 봤을 때 무자비한 칼을 난폭하게 휘두르는 모습을 생각하여 체력 파괴, 부하들을 통한 협공 같은 컨셉을 생각하게 되었습니다. 한 대상만 노릴 때도 전력으로 내려치는 모션을 써서 맞으면 크게 얻어맞는 느낌이 드실 것 같습니다. 마지막으로
Looks pretty badass as well, but I like the horse rider from before a little bit more.
바라투르를 배경으로 악마르의 마술사왕을 상대하게 됩니다. 헬라니도의 보스인 만큼
This one is dope though.
그리고 사악한 것이라는 분위기를 더욱 담아내고자 했습니다.
특히 보스가 타고 있는 펠비스트는 단순히
Yeah, that's also this is one of those things we would like to summon.
웅장함을 강조하고 피부 질감과 뼈 구조를 디테일하게 살려서 어둠의 군주가 타는 존재라는 상징성을 극대화하려고 했습니다. 사용하는 스킬 자체도 공포, 죽음이라는 테마를 고려해서 제작해 보았는데요. 펠비스트가 날아오르며 비명을 지르고 급강화와 함께 검을 휘둘러 충격파를 일으키는 연출로 광역기를 표현했습니다. 단일 스킬은 검으로 찌른 뒤 검은 저주가 퍼져나가는 모션, 턴 시작 시에는 몸을 세우며 어두운 장막이 둘러지는 포즈로 쉽게 쓰러지지 않을 것 같은 느낌을 주려고 했습니다.
Still, that thing will be one shot. That's just gonna happen. Like, these things are always one shot.
콜라보 미니게임은 간달프의 수수께끼를 푸는 컨셉으로 전투에 지친 고단한
These are like the
여행자도
cutting
즐길 수
shapes
있는
thingy.
무언가처럼 서머너 주어를 하면서 소소하게 즐길 수 있도록 기획하였습니다. 방식은 스테이지마다 주어진 도형에 정해진 횟수만큼 선을 그어 같은 크기로 조각을 내는 퍼즐 게임입니다.
Okay.
평소 캐주얼한 퍼즐 게임을
I think that this one is pretty easy because if you do like to do these kind of things, you can just do them. If you don't like to do these things, they will be all over Reddit or someone made a video of exactly how to do all of them, so you don't have to think. So I think that this for a minigame is actually pretty good. Like either you like to do it and you do it yourself, or you don't like to do it and you just look up a guide. It's super easy that way. So I think for minigames, it's a lot better than weird as button mashing, which did not really work out for Tekken 8.
분들은 더욱 재밌게 플레이하실 수 있을 것 같습니다. 도형과 공간 감각 능력에 자신 있는 분들은 힌트 없이 올클리어에 도전해 보시길 바랍니다.
건물과 이모티콘 등
Ooh, I like that
기존
ring
콜라보에서
building though.
경험해 보신 것들에 더해 소환사 여러분들이 좋아할 만한 새로운 것들도 준비해 보았습니다.
콜라보 이벤트 기간 동안 아레나에서 소환사의 반지를 찾는 이벤트도 함께 진행될 예정입니다. 아레나 전투를 하다 보면 소환사의 반지가 나타나게 되고 아레나가 종료될 때 소환사의 반지를 가진 분들에게 소정의 보상이 주어지는 방식으로
Wait.
소환사...
We do have a global attack lead on Frodo over here, it seems. That is actually... yeah, it's a global attack lead on Frodo. Frodo might be so key for so many dungeons because that also makes it really good. Because if you're going to your Julie team in Giants, you're looking at a 25 lead. This Frodo is giving you a 33 lead. That's already in +8 on the lead. This Frodo thingy might actually be low-key freaking good though.
소환사의 반지를 가진 분들에게 소정의 보상이 주어지는 방식으로 진행될 예정입니다. 또한 순찰자가 아닌 위험 있는 모습의 아라곤 형상 변환도
Aragorn as king.
많은 기대 부탁드립니다.
톨킨 작가님의 반지의 제왕이라는 방대한 세계관을 서머너 조어 안에 담아내는 과정은 저희에게도 설레는 모험이었습니다. 소환사 여러분께서도 이번 콜라보를 통해 반지의 제왕 속 세계를 직접 탐험하는 기분을 만끽하시길 바랄게요.
Stone to the
서머너즈와
face,
반지의
boy.
제왕이 함께하는 특별한 만남, 여러분의 많은 기대와 즐거운 플레이 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.
Okay, so all in all, looks pretty good. I'm actually especially hyped for this thing, the free-to-play unit that everyone will get. This will be worth a whole bunch of guides to be using new teams with this guy because he does have the attack lead, apparently. It is a global lead, so therefore it's also a usable lead in R5 to get 33 attack from him, which is really nice. And yeah, especially for R5, so he will be 100% meta for R5 solo in all of the R5s solo. If he's going to be meta for also Giants, I do think so, but I can't really guarantee that just yet. For Dragons, I think for Dragons, you rather still use a Shina and then you double, like, turn the waves with a Shina plus Julie regardless. Mainly because you need the Death Break from Shina anyway, so... that therefore maybe in Dragons a little bit less useful, but I could still see potential where you also still use him in Dragons. But it really depends, does this have a cooldown and how long is the cooldown? If this has too long of a cooldown, then he's only an R5 unit, but still a really good R5 unit. So, yeah, so far the units definitely do look like potential. The moment we see more of the units, I think this update is going to be hitting on the 29th. So I do expect probably a full notice on like the units without leader skills and that kind of stuff on probably 28th, where we then get like notice, or maybe we get them early on the 29th. I will definitely be going live on the 29th the moment that the patch hits. So at that moment, we will definitely be checking out all of the units. 29th, I instantly make a video on first look at all of the units in-game, and then also giving a feeling like, okay, how good do they look with their leader skills and base stats and all of those kind of things. Might not have all of the multipliers just yet, but somewhere earlier in the next week, I will be making a tier list of what I think for an early first look is going to be good. But I do think that a lot of these units have potential. I think just the whole Gollum family feels kind of like F to me, because it's a 4-star family and just also don't really like the units. But the other 4, including the Frodo, actually especially the Frodo, but that's also the one we've seen most about, seems to be very usable. And that's good. That's positive, because most of the collabs we had thus far was like 1 or 2 usable and the rest was waiting for a balance patch. Maybe from here there seem to be a few more usable already right away. Let's hope so. Guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. I'm pretty hyped about this collab. It looks better than most of the other collabs we have thus far. Let me know in the comments if you do agree with that, or you still rather see an anime collab. I think it's actually been kind of 50-50. It's really anime lovers that are really unhappy about this collab because it's not anime. And then people that don't care that much about anime are just happy it's not anime collab. So that's kind of the 50-50 that I've seen the results from thus far. But it's looking not bad. It's looking not bad, I would say, especially since these units are usable. And that's something that I care more about than the collab itself in a lot of cases. Because if the collab looks all cool and stuff, but all of the units are straight up unusable, then it's kind of like, yeah, well, what's the point in that? So at least the Frodo already, 100% he's going to be meta for R5. Like, I'm 100% sure about that. If he's also going to be meta in other places, not too sure. We'll see about that. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. See you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.